Moving into a haunted house was definitely not on our list of expectations when we first embarked on our university journey. Our excitement was palpable as we found a house that was both affordable and conveniently located near campus. However, our enthusiasm was short-lived as we began to experience strange occurrences as soon as we moved in. Our group of 8 college girls, including myself, were taken aback by the eerie happenings in the building. We currently reside on the 15th floor of the 16-floor building, and the lobby is usually empty except for a few residents. During our first day of class, our lecturers cautioned us against venturing into unoccupied units or disrupting the hallways of other tenants due to our status as students. After a few days, we began to hear peculiar noises emanating from the adjacent unit, such as a woman crying, calling out, and muttering. Initially, we assumed that someone was temporarily residing there and leaving at night. However, upon inquiring with our upperclassmen, they recounted tales of a woman who had passed away in that very unit. Although this narrative frightened us, we resolved not to believe it until we witnessed something firsthand. One morning, after about a month, a lady and an uncle came to open the house beside our house. My friend and I were in the midst of getting ready for class when a pungent burning odor suddenly filled the air, causing us to feel nauseous. Curiosity piqued, the uncle approached us and offered some household items, such as chairs and iron boards, that he had never used before and had left outside the corridor. He mentioned that they were going outstation and instructed us to take them after our classes. Overwhelmed by the smell and the strange offer, we simply left the house without responding. As the day progressed, we couldn't shake off the unsettling scent and the feeling of unease it had brought upon us. Later that evening, when we returned home, one of my friends took it upon themselves to clean the items and bring them inside our house. Little did we know that this decision would lead to a night filled with restlessness and eerie occurrences. As we tried to sleep, strange sounds emanated from the chair that had been placed inside our house, sending shivers down our spines and making it nearly impossible to find any peace. The following day, we mustered up the courage to confide in our lecturer and senior friends about the unsettling events that had unfolded. Their reaction was one of shock and concern as they revealed that many people believed the house to be haunted due to a tragic incident that had occurred in the past. According to the stories, a lady had set herself on fire in that very house as a desperate act of love for her boyfriend. Hearing this, our fear intensified, and we deeply regretted our decision to bring the items into our home. Our lecturer and senior friends, understanding the gravity of the situation, advised us to stay away from the house and refrain from taking anything from it. They warned us about the potential dangers and negative energies that could be associated with such haunted places. As students, we often find ourselves in situations where we have to make do with what we have due to financial constraints. This was the case for us when it came to buying chairs and household items. We believed that the items given to us by our uncle were still usable despite their flaws. One particular evening, most of our friends had left for their respective homes, leaving only my roommate and me behind. The chair we had borrowed from our neighbor made an unsettling sound whenever we sat on it, but we had grown accustomed to it. However, on that fateful night, the sound became more intense and eerie, causing us to feel a sense of fear and unease. We decided to pray and avoid looking around until morning. After quickly finishing our meal, we retreated to our room to sleep. Suddenly, the electricity went out, leaving us in darkness. We lit some candles and sat in the living hall, trying to make the best of the situation. To our surprise, we were greeted by a strong, unpleasant burning smell, similar to what I had mentioned earlier. The smell was so overpowering that it made us feel nauseous. As if that wasn't enough, we heard knocking on the wall from the neighboring house, which only added to our fear. In a state of panic, I immediately called our lecturer for help. She assured us that the electricity would be restored in 2 hours and advised us to wait patiently. With no other choice, we continued to pray and hope for the best. Exhausted from the events of the night, we eventually fell asleep, relieved that nothing further had occurred. The following day, on Sunday, I woke up early and took a bath before heading to our prayer house. After the prayers, we went out for lunch and then returned home. As soon as we opened the main door, we were greeted with a shocking sight. The iron boards had fallen to the floor, completely crushed and broken. My friend and I immediately started cleaning up the mess and disposed of the damaged iron board. Later that night, while cooking dinner for the both of us, my friend accidentally cut her finger, causing it to bleed. I quickly administered first aid to her. As the night went on, all of our roommates returned home, and we shared our stories. To our surprise, 6 of our friends had also experienced minor accidents, resulting in bloodshed. One had injured her leg finger, another had fallen in the kitchen and also bled. Someone else had injured her head by knocking it against the table, and yet another had injured her last leg finger with a chair from the neighboring house. It became apparent that everyone, except for me, had suffered injuries and shed blood. This realization left me unable to sleep or eat as I pondered what might happen to me. The next day, my mother asked me to video call her since I wasn't feeling well and had been absent from classes. I shared the entire story with her, and suddenly she asked me who was standing behind me. She couldn't see the person's face, only a shadow of black color. I informed my mother that I was alone at home, but to my surprise, I discovered that someone else was actually staying there. Later in the evening, my lecturer called me to inquire about my well-being and shared with me an incident that occurred in the neighboring house. Apparently, a teenage girl had burned herself due to her boyfriend's betrayal and his cruel words telling her to die. Unable to bear the pain, she resorted to self-harm in that very house. As a result, nobody wanted to stay or rent that home anymore. People who lived nearby often heard the sound of a woman crying, but it never disturbed anyone. The uncle who came that day was the second owner of the house, as the first owner had sold it after the incident. Even the new owners couldn't stay there and frequently traveled overseas. This is why our lecturer warned us not to cross or disturb the neighboring house, as it was not safe for us to use the household items from there. The lecturer refrained from sharing the entire story with us, as we were all in the same predicament of not having a place to stay. We knew that we needed to make things right, so we took it upon ourselves to clear out the items we had taken and clean our own house. We also apologized and prayed to the entity for having to leave for 2 years to study at the university. We hoped that our actions would appease the entity and that it would stop haunting us. Sometimes we would hear knocking on doors, doors would close on their own, fans would turn on suddenly, and we would see black shadows in the mirror. We even encountered issues with the lift, which would take us to the 16th floor instead of the 15th, and refuse to close its doors. Despite these disturbances, we persevered for 2 years until we completed our exams and left the house. We expressed our apologies and gratitude to the entity and hoped that it would forgive us for disturbing it. The experience of living in a haunted house was not something that any of us would ever forget, but it taught us the importance of being respectful and mindful of the entities that reside in the places we inhabit. Thank you for watching. That's all for today's video. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you have any suggestions and experience related to the content, feel free to leave them in the comments below and join us on this journey.